Hi, Commander Dave Wallace here, and I want to talk now about leadership in teams and how, when we think about leadership and how it occurs in teams, it might be a little different from how we typically think of leadership in terms of a person or a person leading another person. So the first kind of framing argument of this is what's known as functional leadership theory, which is like one of my favorite theories of leadership because it's so simple. And functional leadership theory, which was first documented by McGrath in 1962, says that leaders do or get done whatever is not being adequately handled for group needs. In other words, leadership is just about making sure that the team succeeds, and anything that contributes to team success can be considered leadership. And the reason this is an important theory is because it gives rise to this idea of understanding whatever leaders do, that's leadership. And so let's take a look at what leaders do to figure out what leadership is. Now, this goes hand in hand with the idea of the heroic leader, the leader who is at the front of the team doing the things and is making the team function, and that somehow without the leader, the team would fall apart. And there must just be this one single leader who is making everything wonderful. This is sometimes called heroic leadership. Sometimes it's referred to as the romance of leadership. And it's this idea of the leader as hero leader, just making things happen. So there's some initial leader behavior studies, and we've talked about these before. Ed Fleischman comes up with these ideas he follows leaders around. And so there's these leader studies where he's just following leaders around and writing down what they're doing. And then he kind of categorizes them as either initiating structure, very task-based kinds of activities, or considering the individual, which are kind of more people-focused activities. And these are important for understanding how leaders behave. They are either initiating structure, considering the individual, taking care of their people, and this leads to leadership effectiveness. Henry Mintzberg did the same thing, followed managers around. He used the term management instead of leadership because Ed Fleischman was a psychologist and Henry Mintzberg was a management professor. But he followed managers around and said, well, managers fulfill roles. They are figureheads, they're leaders, they're liaisons, they're monitors, they're disseminators of information, they're spokespersons for their groups, they're entrepreneurs. They handle disturbances, they allocate resources, they negotiate on behalf of their team. These are things that leaders do. So again, this gets to this heroic idea of leadership. If we just follow a leader around, we will see what they do to make sure that the team works and succeeds. And this helps us to understand what we need to train leaders to do and how to understand what leadership is. Well, Fred Morgenson and his team come along and they say, in a team, it might be a little different. So let's look at, instead of the leader, let's talk about leadership as an overall action. Leadership is getting things done, not necessarily the leader. So they looked at all of these studies, in addition to Fleischman and Mintzberg and others who had done studies about what it is that occurs to make a team successful. And they looked at, well, leadership is responsible for composing the team, defining the mission, establishing expectations and goals, structures and plans, training and developing the team, making sense. We call sense making to be annoyingly pedantic, but they make sense of the world for the team. They provide feedback, they monitor, right, all that performance management stuff. They manage team boundaries. That is, they liaise with other teams, they liaise with the boss, they liaise with others. They challenge the team to do better. They perform team tasks, right? The working manager actually does things. They help solve problems as they arise, and they support a social climate that overall keeps the team interpersonal relations working. So altogether, what Morgenson and his colleagues said is that these are the things, if we think about functional leadership, these are the things that help the team to function and to be effective. And here's what's really important about what they said is, okay, these are the functions of leadership. But we need to understand that on a team, leadership can come from anywhere. There are different sources of leadership. There might be leaders who are external to the team, external sponsors and champions, people, either the team's boss, maybe they report to someone, or they have somebody informally who just is, has some legitimate role within the organization and informally champions on behalf of the team. Internal to the team, you have formal team leaders, right? There are people who might be appointed, this is the team leader, but you also have informal internal leaders, right? People who emerge as leaders of the team over time, not because they've been appointed, but because of their actions, because people on the team recognize them as leaders. And more importantly, they're doing the things that need to be done. So in this understanding, what we understand is that leadership can come from anywhere. Anyone who does these things is leading the team. So it's not necessarily up to a single heroic leader. It's up to the entire team. Anyone on the team can do these things, help to compose the team, help to define the mission, help to establish goals and expectations, planning, structuring, writing schedules, doing training, monitoring, managing boundaries, providing, all of these things are things that can come from anywhere. They can come from the formal leaders of the team, but they can also come from informal leaders of the team. And in fact, when we leverage the informal leaders of the team, when we leverage the entire team to participate in leadership, then we can leverage the diversity that comes with working on a team. So what's the important takeaway here is that anyone on the team can be a leader, and that everyone on the team should be a leader and participate in leadership. So what's this mean for you? If you are not the leader on the team, you've not been appointed the formal leader, you can and should be a leader on the team and help do some of these functions that are going to help the team to succeed. Sometimes this is called active participation, or proactive participation on the team, proactive followership. These are kind of different words for people who are not necessarily appointed leaders who still participate in the leadership of the team. So that's what to do if you are not the leader. But when you are the leader, the opposite is true. You need to insist on leadership from all of the team, not think that it all has to be on the shoulders of you as the leader, but to share leadership across the team and help other people to participate in leadership. This means delegating leadership functions. This means inviting people to participate in leadership. This means insisting on participative leadership. It means creating the psychological climate that allows people to stand up and take leadership roles. So leadership then, as we've come to understand it, isn't this formal hierarchical one person heroically in front of the team, just making sure that everything happens. Leadership is things that the entire team does. It's a emergent psychological state of the team where leadership can come from anywhere. The leader behaviors can come from anywhere on the team. And that leadership then is what emerges to make the team work. So again, if you are not the leader, you need to be a leader. And if you are the leader, you need to insist on leadership from every member of the team.